University of Maine system is researching the feasibility of starting the state's first public medical school. The Maine legislature and Governor Janet Mills have provided funding for a study to see what it would take to open an institution in Penobscot County. Currently, the University of New England has the only medical school in the state of Maine. Maine's public university system had looked at the idea of a medical school in the past, but a few factors have revived the idea and call for another look at it.
The data do speak to the challenges of rural health care in the state of Maine and physician shortages and lack of access to physicians in various parts of the state. So that's a kind of a recurring theme. We are also an aging state where, in fact, the need for medical care, particularly in our rural areas, of a whole host of types, the need for nursing care and other kinds of skilled care as well as physicians is growing.
The feasibility study and its recommendations are due to the Maine legislature in November of 2025.